this will not be the first time that the government will be hiring a jet from them.
That's the Acropolis.
Yes, you know. But when you see the visuals of the aircraft and the description of that aircraft, and the fact that this is the top of the range in the fleet of aircrafts that this company has. So here you talk about the optics, you know, and I keep stressing that these things are not things that are hidden. And so even in opting for this particular one, you should know that these are things that will come to light. People will get to know. And you need to ask yourself, will this be a defensible position? And this has nothing to do with the principle of hiring a jet, but it's what you hire. If you decide to go and hire a car, you have the option of hiring a Mercedes E300, and you have the option of hiring a Maybach. Which one you hire has consequences, and you should be able to deal with that. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that the issue of hiring a jet for presidential travel is not so much the issue, but it's about what you hired. Now, this particular aircraft is described as a penthouse suite, a flying penthouse suite, and you've seen the visuals. You understand? You've seen the visuals. So why did you take this option? And it definitely will be a legitimate question. Why did you choose this with what we are all seeing instead of many other options? And this will not be the first time that the president has traveled on a private jet, a hired jet. It will not be. So why this particular one? It could well be that the indicative price of 15,000 per hour is not what we paid for, because we obviously would have rented this jet for 10 days or maybe 11 days. And so they would have negotiated a particular price. Whatever the negotiated price is, even for the optics, you know, for example, this issue that the Honorable Kujetu raises as to you going to ask for debt forgiveness on, you know, it's the irony of it. You understand me? That if you can be able to travel in such luxury, why would you want us to forgive your debt? You're not portraying yourself as somebody who is even prudent.
That's a question he raised that suggested that every country where you land, of course, they will check which flight you may have come with, and will ask themselves the question: are you really poor? Because if you're coming and you are spending 2.8 million Ghana cedis of the money you say you don't have, and you could have done a travel which will cost you less than 15% of that amount, then you don't deserve. You are not being sincere with us.
So it's a legitimate issue, and it's also about the optics. Look, sometimes governments and presidents take decisions that perhaps are token, but they symbolize something. I'll give you an example. This year, May Day, in the president's address, I think it was virtual, he announced that there will be no salary increment for himself and all members of the executive, vice president, ministers, deputy ministers, all other appointees for 1 year. I disagreed with that, but that's a different matter. And he says it was to assist the country to recuperate from the adverse effect the COVID pandemic has had on the economy. And I like to quote him here. He says, "It's our modest contribution to reduce the damage to our public revenue and to help hasten our nation's recovery from the ravages of the pandemic." I mean, how much of an increment will the president or any minister have in a year in terms of quantum? But this is something you might call a token, just to demonstrate something. You see, so when you set such examples, it must fly, it must flow through. You get what I'm saying? So you don't do this if what you want to symbolize is a government that appreciates where we are and will try to be as modest as it can, as it asks everybody to tighten their belts and to endure something and to deny ourselves some luxury. You know, when you see images like this, the optics obviously do not portray a government that wants to engage in modesty, and is asking everybody.
On your show, Nana Kumia tried to give you an explanation. did you find that, you know, okay, something that you could manage with?
Which one?
I thought he suggested that this had broken down and you needed to ensure the safety of the president.
That's why from the beginning I said that the issue of renting or hiring a jet, for me, that is not what is an issue.
Okay.
If what we have is not fit for this purpose and we have to hire, by all means, let's hire. There's nothing, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think what's an issue is what we hired.
Okay.
And what the optics of what we hired present. That for me is the issue.